You're listening to the world's smartest podcast network.
When I go to Sacramento, I will pump up Sacramento.
Some say the news is fake. Others say it's real. These two don't have the time to check. Instead, Turner Sparks and Michael Ira Kaplan turn to comics stationed around the globe to be their eyewitness reporters so that you can know what's really going on. This is Lost in America.
All right, everybody, welcome to Lost in America, episode 260. My name's Turner Sparks, a.k.a. Ho Chi Minh.
Jiwal Kaplan?
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not
Give me a line.
even close.
Jiwal Kaplan? No.
Give it another one.
Now I'm Zhao Kaplan? No.
Wojao Kaplan is what we went over.
Wojao Kaplan.
We were Tony. We were trying to impress our Chinese guest on the podcast today, and all of our Chinese listeners. Thank you all for listening.
Capable of impressing anyone.
Instead, Kaplan just insulted an entire 1/5 of the world.
1 billion people. You gave me we had too much small talk in between remembering my lines, so I can't retain information.
It was 2 words. But I do like Jiao Wow.
Well, be a new catchphrase. Put it in a bubble on the merch.
Today's podcast, in a few minutes, we will be talking to Tony Chou. Tony's a stand-up comedian who I met many years ago in China. Tony's based in Beijing, and we're going to talk about the Olympics and what's it's like to be in Beijing right now during the 2022 Winter Olympics. But before we do that, Kaplan.
Yeah.
This is a free show, right?
Hey, that's why I botched my lines on this show. This show's free.
It's 100% free. But the way we get to do this show, the way we keep the lights on, the way we pay for all this technology, these big fancy microphones, big fancy cameras,
these headphones of mine, these are expensive.
These Kaplan special kid headphones, the haircuts for both of us, is patreon.com/Lost in America for $5 a month. $5 all it takes. Kaplan and I do 3 extra episodes a week of just me and Cap, live from the bunker, full throttle, half-hour comedy podcast coming at you, coming at your face. What are we talking about this week, Kaplan?
Oh, we've been talking. We're going. The mayor of New York City. He brought a vegan Fridays to the New York City public school system. He's curated the new menu. Every Friday, he's picked out a selection of plant delicacies for our kids to eat. So we have been diving deep into the menu.
He's forcing our mayors
reviews
as his first step in his first, what do you call that? His first
100 days when you have like
not admission. What is his first
administration?
Whatever. No, the first thing he's doing, it's not fixing the corrupt prison system. You know, it's not reforming, I don't know, bail. That's just something I've heard people say. I don't know what it means. It's not doing any of these. It's not getting criminals off the street. It's not letting criminals back onto the street. No, it's curating a menu.
It's not raising taxes. Yeah.
It's curating a menu for New York City school children, which ends up being mostly vegan, which just means they get potato chips and salsa.
Pretty much. We're gonna have a full review this. I have the first. We previewed Vegan Fridays last week. Tomorrow I'm gonna review the first episode, the first meal. It's very exciting.
It's roundly hated by the school children of New York City. But the mayor doesn't stop the mayor from declaring victory for all of this. Yeah. He's very happy. So that's that, Kaplan. Now, unless I'm missing anything, let's get straight to this episode here. What do you know? Have you been watching the Beijing Olympics?
Oh yeah, because I am married to a white woman. And
yes,
white women. This is the I would say it's their Olympics. It's their Super Bowl. The opening ceremonies is white women's Super Bowl is the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. So we DVR'd it. We gathered around. It's like the only time a family's ever gathered around for a sporting event. We watched the entire opening ceremonies. A lot of pageantry,
what's amazing?
Very impressive.
I lived in China for 12 years. I have a Chinese person living in my household. We did not. We haven't watched anything
yet. You were watching
yet.
football. Yeah.
But I don't know how to get it. This isn't a question for Tony because this is an American thing, but you have to get the Peacock app and it costs $5. And anytime you tell me something costs $5, I say, you know what? That money's better spent at lostinamericapod.com/Patreon than watching the Olympics. So I haven't seen any Olympics except when I've been in bars. It's kind of on in the background.
Oh no, I'm a boomer, so I have cable to get more American. So I'm watching on NBC. I'm up late. I'm watching the skiing. I'm really into it. So I was impressed. Yeah, there was like I've been watching the Olympics, and I don't know. I just know that it's also people who have had to go over there. I know they were like quarantined for like a month beforehand.
Yes,
I know their families.
We hear a lot about the athletes. The athletes are quarantined for a month. If the athletes get one positive test, then a lot of them then cannot compete in their event. But it's keeping the rest of everyone else safe. So that's just it's a bubble. It's like the NBA bubble that they did, but they're doing it on a massive scale with Beijing. It's not 300 NBA players. It's thousands of people and spectators. But what we don't hear about is what's going on with the people who just happen to live in Beijing when this is all going down. And that's why we have my man, Tony Chou, stand-up comedian straight from Beijing. Now, to give him a proper introduction, Tony and I have known each other for years doing stand-up comedy out in China. Tony is a bilingual stand-up comedian. He does it in English and Chinese. Pretty amazing. Tony's toured America, Ireland, Thailand, Japan, Hong Kong. He's the first Chinese comedian worldwide to put on Chinese stand-up shows on international cruise ships. Amazing. Some know him from the popular American-style late-night show Liang Huan Show on Sohu TV. Now, Sohu TV, Kaplan, we were explaining it off air, but it's like Netflix for China. Tony's been on a lot of shows there. He's been interviewed by the New York Times, CNN, Economist, BBC Radio, The Atlantic, Bloomberg, AP, Sinovision, CCTV News, China Radio International, Global Times, NBT World Thailand, and most importantly, Lost in America.
Add it to the resume.
Tony was a journalist when I met him for CCTV. He was on television as a news reporter, and he said, no, my true calling stand-up comedy. Now he's killing it as a stand-up comedian. Tony Chou, welcome to the show.
Hey, yo, everybody. Thank you so much, Turner. I thought you were reading something in my funeral for so long.
Turner speaks at all. If you become a guest on our show, he will speak at your funeral.
Yes,
that's a guarantee.
And I'll read the exact same script I just read, and I will end it by complimenting my own show, Lost in America.
And then he will plug the Patreon. No.
I'll plug our Patreon at your funeral.
If you want to hear a better obituary,
they better at my funeral. They better be plugging our Patreon.
We will do only to get to the funeral. You have to be a subscriber.
That's my last requests or last rights or whatever they call it. Plug my Patreon. Tony in Beijing. How's it? You're sitting. Are you at home right now?
Yeah, I'm at home right now. I live, I think about 5 kilometers away from the bird nest, the China's national stadium, which is the place also holding the opening ceremony for the Winter Olympics.
Oh, wow.
Oh, they did the opening ceremony for the Winter Olympics in the Bird's Nest as well? Because I know they did the summer in 2008.
Yes, it's the same venue.
That's where you saw it.
I was watching. I can't believe you weren't watching. Really?
Oh, really?
It was the amazing event.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'll find it.
Okay.
So what's it like in Beijing? Because I assume there's a bubble, right? But you're outside the bubble.
Yes, I'm outside the bubble. Actually, I'm kind of I'm not familiar with the terminology of the bubble until I'm looking into the news of the Beijing Olympics. Because, this time is very different from the Summer Olympics back in the year of 2008, because there are 3 major Olympic bubbles, but only one is in the urban area of Beijing. Because the major competition and events are all held in very faraway places. One place is far, I think it's the suburb of Beijing called Huairou, which is about 100 kilometers away from the center of Beijing. And more events were held in Zhangjiakou. It's actually something similar to New Jersey to New York City, that kind of relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good. You're talking our language. This is how you have to talk to our audience. Really, they're not geniuses. So you got to explain.
We got a real dumb New Jersey audience.
Now, I should say for our New Jersey audience that 100 kilometers is about 60 miles.
There's nobody in New Jersey. I'm glad you did that because nobody in New Jersey knows what a mile. I don't even know. So
a kilometer.
Oh, I think Zhangjiakou is even further away because that's about 200 kilometers away from Beijing.
Oh, wow. 120 miles because I don't think they can do math in New Jersey either.
That's going to Pennsylvania now from New York for our listeners.
Okay. Yeah. So it's very different from the Summer Olympics.
Well, 2008. We were there. You were there. I was there. It was like party in the street every single day. People from around the world. You go to a bar. It was the best time of my life because you go to a bar and there's like people from 100 different countries all in the same bar because everyone came to watch the Olympics. And then you just party with all these people from around the world after. It was the best.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of atmosphere and lasting for so long a time, not only during the Olympic game time, but before and after. It was a huge party in it, like in the whole city. But now we can actually not like that much feel it because not even a lot of people are allowed to watch the Olympics live because it's in the bubble. Like even the Beijing citizens who tested negative because they stopped selling the tickets a long time ago before the events just to make sure that everything is going well. They invited some. I think they invited some audience from some. Designated companies, which is state-owned, or they organize some like people to watch those events.
It's and like a bringer.
That's what I was wondering. I saw some audience members in some events, and like at the opening ceremonies, those are like just important people, right?
Yeah, who are they?
In the crowd.
You think they just work for like government companies? Or do you know, or is this like a maybe? Maybe they work for government companies, and I would imagine, did those people have to quarantine for a certain amount of time and then they can get let in?
No, I don't think so. Because like in Beijing, we have very rare like cases. Like it's not like in America, like every day you have thousands or even tens of thousands of cases. Like in Beijing, if one guy got coronavirus, then the whole city, and even like more cities know this guy.
He's a celebrity. He's the most infamous celebrity, right? Like
Kaplan, when you got corona, you would have been a celebrity.
I should have gone. Yeah, I should have been number one hated person in all of a city. Here was nothing special.
So, all right, let's start with. I want to talk about that though. So. Walk me through what happens, because as you said, in New York City now, coronavirus is almost done because we're down to like 1,500, 2,000 cases a day in New York City alone. And for us, compared to a month ago when we were at 45, 50,000, it feels like nothing and everyone's back out and everything's fine. But in Beijing, where you've had 0 cases, if one person gets coronavirus, like, is it in the news?
Yeah, it's in the news. It's anywhere. And also, you also read more about his own personal information, like where he go, where like
you get his entire.
Like you got no privacy.
And they give you his name or her name?
Yeah,
really?
You definitely know his name.
So you can make sure you don't.
From the government report, and you probably you don't know his surname or her surname.
Okay,
but more information when it coming up.
Just like on the internet, people will be like, I saw him here. I know him from over there.
I saw that case a couple months ago. There was a Japanese man in Beijing, I think, who had coronavirus, and they published every place he had been. And then everyone was like, oh, these are the restaurants that are the most authentic Japanese restaurants we have to go to now because they're like the Japanese guy was eating there. It became like a foodie thing.
You know what? It's dangerous more than ever, like to have an affair. Like with a marriage at this time,
Seriously,
you date someone else, and then you got reported, and everybody knows that.
Yeah, it'll be
your
in the
wife's
news.
Not mad you cheated; she's mad you brought coronavirus into the
Well, and then it's in the newspaper that he was out to dinner. They're probably like he was out to dinner with his wife, and then his wife reads it. She's like, that wasn't me.
Yeah, I was playing cards that night.
Like what hotel they went to, and what room number, what's the name of them, and where did they go before the hotel and whatever.
And you're like, the wife's like, we haven't done anything like that in years. I mean,
you haven't taken me to a hotel.
Yeah. Dinner, movie,
dinner. So, all right. So someone gets it. It's in the news. Their name's in the news. Everywhere they went is in the news. Every restaurant they went to. And then do people, avoid that restaurant? Do people stop going?
It's not only just the people avoid the restaurant because we have a lot of very quick actions being put if there's anything potentially dangerous about it. But because we're all tracked on our health kit and also
on the app on your phone,
right? We have very strict measures with that. Yes. And also, if you're a close contact, even you have some trouble, you're going to stay home for like a few days. And but when you have something going wrong, then there are more people more careful about you than yourself. They're very very nervous about that than you actually.
So do your building, because I had heard that like if someone gets it in your apartment building, and apartment buildings can be 15 stories high, pretty normal. And then also in a complex, in China, a lot of people live in an apartment complex, meaning there might be like 10 or 15 buildings of 10 or 15-story buildings makes up one complex. Like I live there. I live at that place. It means like a place of 15 buildings, which is hard to we kind of have similar things a little bit in New York, like the co-op city and stuff like that, but it's not normal in the rest of America. So if one person, say in your complex, gets it, what happens to your complex? Do they shut down?
It's going to be shut down.
Okay.
Yes.
No one can leave.
No one can leave.
Yeah.
You can have people coming in, but once they come in, they can never go back.
They can never go back.
Hotel California.
Hotel California. So how long will they shut it down for? 2 weeks or something?
Yes, it depends on if there are more new cases coming up, and the nearby areas situation. Yeah. At least like 14 days. I mean, also even just like 2 months ago, even the whole city, like Xi'an and Tianjin, was closed. I mean, the whole city was even closed just because there are probably like a few dozens of cases coming up.
Yeah, and they shut down a city of 10 million people are in Xi'an, something like that.
Yes.
Something like 10 million. Yeah.
Yes.
And if you're the married guy at your mistress's place and they shut the building down, what do you go back to the earlier topic? You're telling your wife, I got stuck in a snowstorm somewhere.
You can check in anytime you want, but you can never leave.
I guess I'm in a new relationship now.
All of a sudden you have a new wife, new family.
Yeah. What a world.
And wild. So and then in Beijing, so do you see any of these? You don't see Olympians walking around town or anything, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the whole Olympic thing is like a VR thing, like VR there, and you'll watch it from a distance.
It's like the Olympics are going on in your it's so weird. You're like outside of the area. Yeah, it's like it doesn't even exist really.
Nobody really knows where it is and if they are the real
Does it really count as Beijing?
Yeah.
But I imagine like every once in a while you can see fireworks, right?
No, that's not. No, even in the Spring Festival, the fireworks is kind of like forbidden for the environmental control protection reason.
Oh,
like within the 15 rural, I mean the urban areas of Beijing
because of pollution.
Pollution. Yeah, but that's been complemented for a couple of years.
That started right before I left.
Where they got rid of, they don't have fireworks because of pollution. Oh my God, I'm moving. Because I have a dog. We can't stand fireworks. We hate them.
Oh, you moved to China?
I'm going to move to China. There you go. I know fireworks. This is
Tony, Kaplan and his dog were in the New York Post. Like the newspaper, New York City newspaper, New York Post, in the middle of the Black Lives Matter movement, where George Floyd got murdered and everybody was trying for social justice change. Kaplan and his family were complaining about fireworks.
We had a lot of fireworks. Where we live, there's fireworks every night. Kids were so we were very upset. And
Kaplan said in the paper that Kaplan said the real crime here is the fireworks.
I said it's a war zone. I live in a war zone.
I live in a war zone.
I did, and it's been
So he very famously hates fireworks.
Yeah. And we'll have a dog named Pancakes, and she would like us to move the family to China, so we might be looking into that.
I would even guess that if there's more fireworks to be seen in the Chinatown than in China.
Definitely.
Probably, yeah.
Or
for sure.
in Kaplan's building,
My
apartment.
building is the hub. It's the firework capital of New York City over here. We're by the water. Yeah.
Something happened, Tony, during our quarantine, our lockdown, which was like in New York City, it was 3 months. In a lot of parts of our country, it was 2 weeks.
Well, it was a mini lockdown for a long time, but it was not a
month,
lockdown.
2 weeks,
There was restrictions. Yeah.
So what are you guys allowed to do now? Are you like? Can you what does it look like if you want to go to a restaurant with some friends?
Right now, we're processing back to normal. I don't think there's anything really different from our normal life, because you have to scan the QR code of the health kit and everywhere, and that's the only thing you have to do, and wear a mask.
So you do wear a mask.
You have to wear masks everywhere except when you're like eating or drinking or something like that. Is that how it is?
If you eat and drink, it's no problem. But when you enter the place after registration, do some registration.
It's like us. You do the enter and the takeoff.
Yeah.
You put it on to go into the restaurant, and then you say hi, and you take it off to sit down. Is that right or no?
Yeah. How can you eat with your mask on? You can't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And now, if someone in your building or in your apartment complex gets coronavirus, does your app color change from green to red?
Yes.
The phone just starts going crazy.
So then you cannot you can't go into the subway, you can't go into restaurants, or what is that app? What does it get you into? Like any building? You know what I mean? Is it like hospitals, restaurants? Or is
they have different colors, right? Green, red, and yellow.
Okay.
Yellow will be referred to home quarantine, I think. Home observation. And have to stay home. For the red, you have to go to a designated place for quarantine, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so do you have to show that app to get into every building, or is it only restaurants?
Yes. You have to go. Whatever places you go to, you show that app, the health kit.
Okay, so even if
vaccination
it's like,
stuff. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, even if it's like the like a Cuddy or like a 7-Eleven.
Oh yes, everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere.
Wow.
But do you have to be vaccinated to do these, to go to places, or is it just about not having?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the vaccination.
Oh, look at that.
I have to be vaccinated. Yeah.
We have a lot of
anti-firework people.
Wait, we have China. A lot. Yeah, there's a lot of Americans now who will want to move to China because they don't have to get vaccinated.
As long as I
don't know if they might have other issues, but
hey, I'm just trying
the anti-vax. Do you think we can get the anti-vax crowd to like merge with China?
Interesting.
I don't know if you've heard, Tony, there's a portion of America who, even though we have these vaccines available, they're not getting them because they think that it will make their kids have autism.
Or no, it'll put a chip. They think there's a chip that goes in there that Bill Gates will be watching them or something.
Yeah, they think it'll put like a microchip in their brain if they get the vaccine. So these people would love China because they don't have to get the vaccine.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the government is trying all means to provide people to get vaccinated, but it's not compulsory.
That's
I'm
interesting.
Not
oh, look at that.
A lot of people are vaccinated.
You're unvaccinated?
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh my
God. Interesting.
So I should move to America.
We're not going to put this podcast on Spotify now.
We're going to do an exchange program.
You would be a hero. You'd be a hero to some. Actually, if you come over and you tour as like the unvaccinated comedian, I guarantee you could sell out comedy clubs.
No, I think I can get in without being vaccinated.
Oh, that's
I have
true.
to be vaccinated.
You come to the country, yeah. You actually come to America.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I didn't think about that. So Beijing, there's not a lot going on that you can really see.
There's a lot of people discussing the Eileen Gu today.
Yes.
I think.
Oh, yeah, we are reading about her.
Yeah.
So
Big
she
American.
is. Tell us who she is.
You guys know who she is? She's a half Chinese, half American, I think. She was born in San Francisco, was raised in San Francisco, but his mom is from Beijing, I think.
Yes.
She's a skier.
Yeah.
And what did she do?
She got a gold medal and what we call it, freestyle skiing.
For which country? America, right? She's from America.
For China.
Yeah,
For China.
She's a real
That's
traitor.
why to become a big hit here.
She
She's
said, I
a
want to go to a place without
turncoat.
fireworks. I hate fireworks.
Maybe she didn't want to get vaccinated.
I don't get vaccinated. I don't like fireworks. I'm moving to China.
So she's an American who grew up in San Francisco, but she's half Chinese, and she went to go compete as like a skier but she's like
Freestyle. It's like the jumping skiing.
yeah,
thing.
jumping stuff. And meanwhile, she's like best in the world.
Yeah. And
What
it's
happened?
incredible. She did a very difficult trick that has never been pulled off in competition. And that made her get a gold medal.
I saw that. I've already seen the highlights. She tried it for the first time ever, and she had like 9 flips or something like that.
Mm.
So is she a hero now in China?
Yeah, she's a very beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and she speaks good English and speaks good Chinese.
Yeah.
And she represents for men in fashion brands in I think in both China and America. Yeah.
I mean, not to say
everybody's discussing her right the whole day. I mean, today there's the headlines here and there all about her.
I mean,
if she won the gold medal for America, everybody wouldn't be discussing her. So she might have made a decision based on.
Actually, so right. This is a smart move because right now in America, I actually looked it up before we started. The Olympic viewing is down 43% from 2018 Winter Olympics,
really?
and 2018 was one of our lowest rated ever.
Yeah,
So this is
wow.
like almost no one is watching these Olympics so far in America. But so for totally true, if she won
like
the gold,
Michaela, whatever, that American skier, nobody knows who she is. You know,
I don't know a single Winter Olympics athlete in America. So
Peekaboo
she's smart.
Street. No.
She's smart. I knew her a long time ago. So it's smart for her to move to China. It's a good move. So now she's like super famous. But then what's interesting, Cap, is you giveth and you taketh away, because there's one other American who went to compete for China in the figure skating, and she lost hard.
No,
Oh yeah, that girl, right?
Yeah, and she's like hated now.
that girl.
right?
We don't even know her name anymore.
I don't
Isn't
even
she-
remember. Like she replaced another very beautiful Chinese-born girl.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and she's not as attractive. And mostly it depends on how attractive you are.
yeah. They're trying to take our most attractive Winter Olympians. It's a very smart strategy.
Yeah. So this one's
Do they
less
take any men, or there's no one's interested in the men? Just no.
What?
Are there any men? Are there any men,
Men?
Chinese American men who've gone over? Do we know or no?
I don't think there are many Chinese American athletes who fight for China.
Yeah.
That's a very few cases.
just these
But this
two.
year, yeah, but I mean, so that's something new in China. We have a rare of these cases.
It seems very new. I mean, at 2008, there was definitely nobody. I remember it would have been in the news if there was someone who was doing this, you know?
Yeah. It's just
pretty
like
cool.
Stephen Marbury, who plays the like.
Wait,
NBA
does Marbury play for the Chinese basketball team?
No.
Not for the national basketball, but
That'd
he
be
got,
amazing.
I think he got a PR. He got a personal residence in China. He played for a Beijing team.
Beijing
Yeah,
Ducks.
Beijing Ducks.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had Americans. Hakeem Olajuwon played for USA. We've had guys who weren't born in America. You know, you just have to become naturalized. That's the thing. So
So,
I guess.
Tony, what was it like? So, when I met you, I want to say it was like 2012, maybe, or 2013,
14
2014
or 13 probably. 13.
Okay.
We were doing English shows in the bookworm.
at the book
I think
room in
that's-
Beijing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were at that time a newscaster, right? A television presenter on CCTV,
Oh yes, I did. I'm an on-camera reporter. with
on-camera
CCTV.
reporter. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you would go
CCTV.
out like if there's like a snowstorm, you go out and stand in the snow and go, it's snowing out here. Like
Yeah,
not
it's something like
specifically
that.
weather, but you would do everything. So
Yes.
and then at some point you stopped doing that. And when I met you, you were doing that and you were doing comedy kind of like as a hobby, right?
Yes.
And at that time, comedy was very new. Stand-up comedy in the form we know it as was very new in China.
Yeah, nobody know what it is. Like even the Chinese. Remember that time? I think there were only a few Chinese shows. I started doing stand-up comedy in Beijing in English because back then there was no Chinese stand-up.
Yeah. And how did you even know about it back then to want to do it?
I think I got inspired by Joe Wong.
Joe Wong.
Remember he did a roast on the correspondent dinner? Yeah, for White House correspondent dinner. For I think it's not a WHCD, it's the radio and television correspondent dinner, where he roasted Joe Biden.
Yeah, he roasted Joe Biden.
Went viral in China.
Yes,
and I got inspired by him. That I started to do stand-up comedy. Yeah,
Kaplan,
I remember that.
Cap, have you heard of Joe Wong?
I've heard, yeah, but I don't know. I didn't know about this roasting of Joe Biden.
Oh, well, that's all he's known for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what you would have heard of. He's a comedian. He's Chinese, but he went to college in America, in Boston, I believe. So then he started doing stand-up in Boston and was there for a while, 15, 20 years maybe. I'm not sure how long, but was also doing a bit of touring around the U.S. And then he did a couple Lettermans. And then he got asked to do this dinner for Joe Biden to kind of
he was the vice president? Or when
it was like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, except for vice president. Yeah, when Biden was vice president. And he did jokes about him and jokes about America, and he killed. And then overnight, he became this gigantic celebrity in China because of that. Because that video was like, whoa, you're so big that you get to make fun of the president on TV is like mind blowing, you know? And he came back to China. I met him when he moved back to China, when he realized like, oh, wow, I can clearly have a much bigger career in China than in America. He was like trying to get by like everybody else, you know, moved back, got a TV show overnight, started doing stand up, started touring and like filling theaters. So that's when you got into it, was because of Joe?
Yes. Because I think Joe, in some way, like introduced stand up comedy to China through that video. Like most Chinese people stand to realize that kind of a form of art due to that video. You know what's interesting that first media exposure for me is a foreign correspondent interviewed me from The Atlantic, the magazine, The Atlantic. I wrote a story about the comedy scene in Beijing and the most part about me. And then I was very expecting the article coming out. When it come out, I see they put Joe Wong's picture on it.
No way,
but
really?
They thought it was you? They like got the.
It's not because it's Joe. Because it's not because they think we look all the same. Definitely, it's not like that. But
wait, but they put
more representable, I think, America.
They interviewed him too, though. Is what you're saying? Did they or no?
No, wait, Tony, you're saying they put Joe Wong's face, but then under it said it was Tony Chou?
No, they just the article is meant about me, but the cover picture is Joe Wong.
Just because it's about comedy.
He's got a prettier face, you know.
I see. Yeah. They're trying to sell papers. I want to hear more about this. Yes, I want to hear more about this. But before we do, we got to take a break to pay some bills. Kaplan, we are part of the world's smartest podcast network. And let me tell you, this network's taking off. Thank you, everybody. Our numbers are better than ever right now.
Yeah. We're carrying the network, right? We're
number two.
Number two in the network ratings right now.
We're somewhere between number 2 and number 3, which is top 3 is good.
We're top 3 at the network. That's what we tell people.
Yeah. So the other shows, you got The Political Orphanage with Andrew Heaton. That's number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's a great show. He had on.
Great show.
Oh, he had on Andrew Yang recently.
Yes. That's a must listen. Very fun.
Former presidential candidate Andrew Yang was on there with his Forward Party, making things happen. And then you have Majoring in Everything with Dr. Andrea Jones-Roy, also a stand-up comedian. Also, Tony, I knew her in Shanghai. She was a Shanghai-based comic. She's now in New York City. Great show. Majoring in Everything podcast. We got to get on there at some point soon. I don't know exactly how we do that, but
I mean, there's many things you're majoring.
You have to be smart in like 2 different things. So what would be your 2 things, Cap?
What would be my 2 things that I'm smart in?
Yeah, that you're an expert in.
I'm an expert in parenting and in being a helicopter dadding, right? Is that a thing?
I do remember on our Patreon show, you saw people robbing a store and you told your son Teddy that, hey, it's actually good. Now you're allowed to rob stores.
Yeah, woke parenting, we call this.
I don't know if that makes you an expert on parenting.
I'm an expert on parenting, and I'm an expert in video games in franchise mode and Madden. I don't know. I got to work on it.
Let's see if she's interested in those two things. Maybe we can get you on her show.
With Dr. Andrew Jones-Roy about my Madden franchise mode Eagles team.
Majoring in everything. And of course, we are Lost in America. Those are the 3 shows. So we're in the top 3, Cap. And now a word from your local sponsor. All right, we're back.
Thank you, sponsors.
Not only thank you, sponsors, I believe, Kaplan, it's us reading the ads.
Real sponsor. Yeah, look at that. We're moving on up.
We're doing the ad reads. So thank you to those companies who specifically asked. Thank you to us is the best way to put it. Tony, all right. So 2014, you're doing English language stand-up. There kind of is no Chinese language stand-up, right? Or is it even existing yet?
It comes into being in the year of 2013 in Beijing. But, before the summer of 2013, there was not even no open mics for the Chinese.
Yeah. And now what is the reaction to people when you're doing stand-up? Meaning, what is the reaction of audiences in China? What is the reaction of your family, your friends? Like, do they understand what you're doing?
No, definitely not. Because I have a job, this is a hobby. So for them, they don't know what I'm doing. But sometimes I go to the English shows. The English open mic is very, very late. Always like starting at 9:30, and I got a lot of complaints. And also they don't understand what I'm going out for. So just speaking English with some other guys.
So they just know you're going out to speak English.
Yeah, but it's something they kind of know, but they haven't watched back then. Yeah. But until now, my parents still don't watch any of my shows live. I mean,
even in the Chinese language shows.
No.
Really? Why not?
I don't know. They just maybe they know that I'm not funny enough.
No, you're hilarious. What are you talking about? So you do this professionally now?
Yeah, I do it professionally now. I also run a comedy club in Beijing. As what you basically do in Shanghai. Like,
whoa, what's your comedy club?
No, it's in the humor section, like founded by Des Bishop. And then he left. I keep running
Des Bishop, friend of the program.
Yeah, Des and Tony are old friends. So you did so you still do? Yeah, the humor section was the name of Dez's comedy show at the Bookworm, which was like a bookstore / bar. You would have loved it, Cap. And
my kind of place.
But now the Bookworm's gone, right?
Yes, the Bookworm was gone just not long before the coronavirus.
But you kept the humor section show going somewhere else?
Yes, we have many different places to put the shows on every week.
And now comedy is like gigantic in China, right?
It's incredible. It's taking off. Let me tell you this. On just a simple Saturday, only Beijing has, I guess, more than 100 Chinese stand-up shows.
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
100? That's like New York City.
I guess there might be more shows than
that.
New York
Might
City.
be more. That might be more than New York City. 100 shows on a Saturday. It's impossible for me to imagine, because when you and I met, and even when I left in 2016, there were maybe like 20 Chinese language stand-ups in Shanghai, maybe 30, and probably about the same in Beijing, right?
Yeah.
Now, what happened? How many comedians are now in Beijing, would you guess?
There are definitely the market is short of comedians. I think it's something like the 80s in America, the 1980s of America, when this having this first boom. But overnight, the stand-up comedy gets so popular among young people in China as one of the major entertainment right now. Like they go to every day. We have a lot of shows, all due to the online show, Rock and Roast, and the Chinese version of a roast.
Yes.
So that's viral. So that makes the Chinese audience know this.
So you had go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of the number of comedians, I think, how could I? There are 60, like
60
80?
comedians, but 100 shows.
Yeah, how do they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the comedian is the best time for comedians. Like for the comedians only does like a 3 months or half a year. Make a lot, like have a 6 or 5 shows every
you have
Saturday.
nobody coming in, right? There's no international
shows, doing the same 15-minute material.
And you're running around doing like 6 shows in a night.
I'm only organizing like my own show.
Yeah,
but the comedians like travel here and there.
Because how do you do 100 shows on a Saturday with 60 comedians?
Most of the time, the same comedians.
Just doing every single show.
It's going all around town.
Every single show.
And
when there are not enough good comedians, they put on bad comedians.
Amazing.
So 60 good comedians, you mean, and there's some bad ones.
Oh.
Can you imagine there are like a 300 audience, and then there are 2 real comedians. The rest of the 4 other comedians are just very new.
Unbelievable.
This is a great place to start.
Wait, Tony, Kaplan's son is learning Chinese right now. Because these are all Chinese language shows, Kaplan. So I heard you say something about like it's closed for coronavirus. That wouldn't matter anyway. No one's flying in.
Right. So, but I meant like comedians. But yeah, Chinese language. You're right.
So
my son has a teacher. She's in Beijing. Do you know her? No. He has a teacher every day. She gets up at 1 a.m. or stays up to 1 a.m. in Beijing and teaches his class in New York City by by Zoom or whatever. So he's learning. He's training to become a comedian. Is that what you're saying, Turner?
I think if he learns 2 or 3 more sentences, he can go to Beijing and be an opener on some of these shows.
Yeah. Why not?
So this is wild. So is everyone making a lot of money doing comedy?
A lot of money.
Really?
Wow. You should have stayed there, Turner.
Well, it's tough. It's Chinese language. So 2 to 3 months in, people are starting to make money doing comedy.
Yeah.
This is like the 80s.
Making more than their real job.
Amazing. As a stand-up. So what do you get paid? Say you go do 10 minutes of stand-up on one of those 300-person shows. And I've been doing comedy for 6 months. How much would I get paid?
Like normally 500, 400, 600 RMB.
So that's like $80 to $100. Yeah.
Yeah. Less
for
than
one spot.
For one spot. Yes.
And you can do 5 or 6 in a night.
Yes.
Look at that.
I mean, this is
This is the golden. Yeah.
This is the golden time.
Golden era.
It's the golden era. It's in New York City. If you do a spot and the top club pays about $100.
Oh,
supply and demand. We have so many more than 60 comedians here, right?
Exactly. There's 10,000.
So that's the issue. Simple economics here.
That's the issue. Yeah. And a lot of clubs don't pay anything.
Yeah,
they literally pay on a Saturday night. The audience pays $25 or $45 plus 2 drinks.
Or the comedians pay to get on, as we know in some.
Or Kaplan's cousin charges people to get on stage. That's how many comedians there are. Victoria Tusi charges audience members.
When I attend the open mic in America, they charge us.
Oh yeah, you came to America.
You probably paid my cousin.
You probably paid his cousin. Kaplan's cousin is the most notorious person in the New York City comedy scene.
She shook you down. She probably made you give her your watch or something.
She happily charges people.
It's like, give me what you got.
They're called Tony.
It's so shocking to me. Like I thought America is a land of freedom. Then I want to say whatever I say on stage. But I realized that, the freedom has a price.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want to say, but you got to pay for that.
You got to pay Kaplan's cousin $20.
I was going to make a deal with the devil.
And then you talk fast because she only gives you 5 minutes.
I see you got a nice painting behind you that you did. You could bring that over, give it to her. She'll take anything. Barter system. Hat, cool hat, whatever you want to give her. But that stage time doesn't come free.
This is how crazy it is. There's 10,000 comedians in New York City, and they say there's 10,000 in LA. So his
10,000
cousin.
comedians in one city?
Yeah.
10,000.
Because
10,000.
we have parents here who don't be like, what are you doing with your life? They let you do it. So
Yeah, exactly. They're happy. So Kaplan's cousin's the real genius. All these other people are trying to make money doing comedy. And she said, I'm going to make money off the people trying to make money doing comedy. So if you get on stage in New York, not only does the audience have to pay $75 to her, but then the comedians also have to pay
she's
her.
making it on both ends. Real business model. What do you call that?
It's called being a parasite, I think, is what the term is. But she's making money coming and going. So you'll find out when you're a real success in Beijing, Tony, it's when you can start charging the comedians to perform. That's when you know your city's really made it as a comedy scene.
You know what? Now the comedians have, because they're so popular, because there's so few of them. I mean, the good comedians.
Yeah.
They're very, how could I say, picky.
Yes.
Not everyone will be inviting them for shows they would like to go to, you know?
Of course. If you have 100 shows. Wait, so you have 60 good comedians. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, about that, I think.
Oh, and how many like bad comedians?
I don't know. Because come in like 2 months and then leave and here and there.
I see. They barely ever. So like hundreds maybe. They fill out the show.
They're the extras.
They're the ones paying to get on stage.
Yeah. Quite.
No one's paying. This is great. Tony, we're going to bring on this podcast right now. We're going to bring the concept of a bringer show to you in China.
This is how ideas get exported around the global economy.
So Tony, the bringer show means the comedian has to bring like 10 audience members who pay, and that's how they can get on stage. It's ridiculous.
You should institute that. Be the first of your kind.
No, I hope it never happens. Crazy. So, and it all changed, you said, with these roasts. Because when you and I were back then, it was hot. Like Chinese language stand-up was hot at our comedy club in Kung Fu Comedy Club in Shanghai. The shows were always full, but it was still like this underground kind of, you had to be like a very, very cool, in the know Chinese person to even know these shows were happening. But there was enough of them in Shanghai to where you could fill a room, but not enough to where they would get on TV ever or anything like that. So when did the roasts come to be on Chinese TV?
It's on the website. I think it's on Tencent.
Okay. So what year was that?
I think it's in the year of 2017.
Okay, a year after I left. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then,
but you know that was popular just because a lot of celebrities were attending that show and taking the roles from the comedians. But stand-up comedy was not as popular. Stand-up comedy was really popular in the last 2 years because they have more of a last comic standing format show coming up. And realize, this is stand-up comedy.
Got it. So you guys had Last Comic Standing. Who were the judges on the Last Comic Standing?
I think it's something like Last Comic Standing. It's produced by the same company.
But I mean, was Joe Wong a judge, or who judged what comedians?
No, they got some of the celebrities and some of the comedians. Some of the comedians and some are not.
Oh,
they are just famous people, like in China.
Judging comedy?
Just commentating, something like that. That's the Chinese way. The
Joe
Chinese
Schaefer,
variety show is very different from America. I mean, in terms of the business model, because here it's all relied on the sponsorship because the audience do not pay. It's not like the Netflix that people buy a membership.
Okay.
They have sponsors like old fashioned TV stations here. Like
American TV, like regular ass TV.
Regular boomer TV.
Boomer TV. So that happened. So 2 years ago, this Last Comic Standing started, and then were you ever on it? Did you do it?
No.
Okay.
Haven't done it yet because you have to sign contract with that company for a really long time.
So they own you.
Yeah, if you want to get on that program.
Interesting. And then
10 years.
10 years.
A 10-year contract?
Something like that. 10 years.
So basically everything you do for the next.
And then they kind of they put you on a tour for 10 years or something?
No, I don't think they guaranteed anything.
Oh.
They just own your rights to whatever you do, I guess. They make money off you.
And it's also, they're not guaranteeing you.
Well, that sounds not like that. That doesn't sound like a good deal.
You should give advice to young comedians out there. Maybe don't do this.
But it gets you famous, right?
If you're lucky. They have a lot of comedians. Like
if the celebrity who's not a comedian likes you,
if you make it out of the house, you got to make it far in the show. Obviously,
I'm surprised they didn't get Joe Wong or like some professional stand-ups to be the judges. You know
what? Joe even attended the show like for the recent season, but as a contestant, and he show up.
A contestant?
Yes. Can you imagine that?
He's a professional stand-up.
It seems like, what was he to gain from being contested on that show?
He's doing, when I left China in 2016, he was already headlining like 1,000-seat theaters around China.
As I said, like in China, the content industry, there's no content in the content industry, you know? So the capital definitely beats the content. So they only invite people who have a large fan base, whatever it has to do with comedy. For the rating reasons.
They need ratings in this TV show, so they basically they need famous people in the house, even or whatever it's called, in the contest.
Yes.
Did he win at least?
No. He just
so what's it?
He quit or something. Because in those shows you have to sign the contract if you want to step in that show or even step further.
You have to sign a contract that if I win, you own me for 10 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If you still sign, like you cannot get in the final or something.
Oh, so he might have not signed it and not made the final.
Oh, and then they don't vote him into the final because he didn't sign the contract. Amazing.
He signed the semifinal contract or whatever. Or pay me enough to. Wow. So you could do this, Turner. Or maybe I'll do this. This is my move.
Go to Beijing.
We go to Beijing. I guess.
And sign a 10-year contract.
I'm gonna start doing the lessons with my son. I'm gonna learn the language.
Tony, how did you I think we get Teddy to do this. Yes. When Teddy's 16, are there any children comedians?
He'll be like the skier.
Yeah, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is called Lost in China.
Teddy Kaplan.
Great idea for a podcast.
Tony, are there any children? How young are the comedians? Is there anyone like 13, 14, 15?
No, not like kids like.
All right, there you go. Are there any?
You need perspective to tell jokes.
Are there any white American kids?
No, not much.
Well, he's not going to win. We know that, but they won't. But he can be like an interesting character to get us.
Here's what you need to do, Kaplan. You sign without telling Teddy. You sign him up to a 10-year contract,
and then I don't have to worry about him for 10 years. You got a life plan.
It's a babysitter for 10 years.
It's a babysitter. There you go.
Why not?
Yeah, you'd like to tell jokes. So there you go. And he's really into COVID material, so that'll still be, relevant.
What about for you guys traveling? Like, are you allowed to travel to other provinces? Because with COVID?
Yeah, we can travel to other places, but we have to take the test, which has to be done within 48 hours.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's like us traveling to other countries.
Yes, it's having just a little bit more trouble, like coming back and here, but it's allowed.
Okay, and what about? But no one can obviously. Are you allowed to travel outside the country, or not?
I
think
it's very difficult. I think it's very difficult.
There's not a lot of flights, I don't think, right? And it's not a lot.
Yeah, I read that.
It's like almost like stop issuing new passports to the Chinese citizens.
Yeah,
for the COVID reason. Yeah.
Special COVID passports.
Yeah, the goal to get to zero COVID cases is they've stopped issuing passports to a lot of people. I've read that 98% of international flights have been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2%, but you can still do it. Like my wife is going back to China in mid-March. It's her first time in a few years going to China, but she is going. She did buy a ticket, but it's a lot of tests, a lot of you have to take 2 or 3 COVID tests here in New York before you go there, and then quarantine for 28 days when you get there.
Wow.
She's staying for a while.
She's staying a couple
You
months.
gotta stay at least 28 days because you don't turn around and leave on the 29th.
Exactly. She's staying a couple months. So you don't know anyone, Tony, who's been traveling like back and forth. I mean, it's like traveling like in the stagecoach era. Like to go west it takes 3 months to get there.
You got a lot of stops along the way. You gotta stop in the towns, like refueling stations.
Was it Dave Attell's joke where he's like, yeah, I used to travel and you'd go out west, you go over the Rocky Mountains and it would take 6 months. People would have babies. Half the population would die. By the time you got there, you're a whole different group of people.
That's what it's like.
It's a story about Kaplan's son coming to China, the New Gold Rush.
Yeah.
East.
We're going to send him in
moms arriving
put him
here.
in a train and say, right? Wait,
How would Teddy do in
a duffel bag? Yeah.
In a 28-day quarantine hotel? How would Teddy do by himself?
I mean, as long as you gave him a charger for his Switch, he would be fine.
Yeah, in video games.
Just like video games, 28 days. Kids can do it. But kids are resilient, as they like to say. They don't go crazy. So are the Olympics like athletes after they're done? Like, do they get to go into Beijing or anything, or they just got to go home?
I don't think they will
don't get to. No, because they give them, just like every other Olympics we talked about with the Olympics in the summer, they give them condoms. Like it's been an Olympic tradition, and then they don't let them. What do you got to bring them? I guess got to bring them back to their countries to use them. So,
do you think they're kind of at this point ceremonial condoms?
They don't even work.
Yeah, they don't even work.
It's actually a mask. When you open up, it's an N95 mask. You just put it.
Yeah. I think maybe they're doing it just out of tradition because they've always
allowed to go all the way to Beijing, and that's part of the Olympic experience. And you don't even go, you just go into a bubble basically.
Well, I guess as long as you're in the bubble, I mean, you can. The other athletes are there, right? But I don't know how strict they keep.
The athletes who have a significant other who's also an Olympian, is that an advantage or a disadvantage mentally? They have that's
a disadvantage.
Bet against them if you're gambling on this.
Yeah.
Look it up. Do some homework.
Speaking of Olympics, I think the whole Olympics, the whole thing is like a coronavirus. America has been, everyone is staying home, watching it getting higher, faster, and stronger. Everyone, it's like Olympic Games because America has always been leading and everyone leads.
Yes, we dominate. Yes, exactly. And everyone's trying to catch up to us.
Are we still? I don't think we're winning in this one though, are we? Or is it too early?
In the winter, it hasn't.
I looked because Ye and I were talking about it yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, we should look up the Olympics." And she's like, "Oh yeah, who's winning? Is it China or America?" And I looked it up, and it was Norway.
Norway, yeah.
China was in 9th, and America was in 13th. But that was, after 1 day or 2 days or something. So
I had a great moment I'll tell you real quick about blowharding like an idiot. We were watching the thing and the medal thing, and Randy was like, my wife was like, "What's ROC?" And for a moment, I was like, I guess that's like Republic of China. And then I was like some sort of, I don't know why I said that. And then I was like, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. What could that be? And I looked, do you know what that is?
It's Russia, because I did the same thing.
Yeah, Russia had a doping scandal, and they're not allowed to be called Russia to be in the Olympics. So they got around it by renaming the country or something.
Yeah, Russia got banned from like multiple Olympics because they won't stop taking steroids.
Exactly.
Everyone says, Russia, if you take one more steroid, we're kicking you out of the Olympics. And they said, what's a steroid? And then they popped a pill in their mouth.
So they just changed. They got around it with they got the legal minds together. They just changed the name of the country.
So Russia agreed to change the name of their countries but I don't even know what ROC stands for. Republic of something.
I think it's Russian Olympic Committee or something. Is what I looked.
Oh,
yeah.
Because Ye asked the same thing. She goes, "What's ROC?" And I was like, in my head, it was North Korea. I was like, "Oh, that's Republic of Korea." And then went, "Wait, no, that wouldn't be a C. That doesn't make sense."
Yeah. So this
Republic of a cocktail.
Yeah, so I don't know if Norway's doing steroids or what, but they're dominating early on. That's the.
I don't think China is very competitive in the Winter Olympics.
Well, you don't ski like winter sports. Are they? I mean, is skiing very common in other winter in China? Activities?
No. You see, all the Chinese athletes are from the same kind of region, the Northeast.
Yeah,
with the cold places. So we were joking about like if it's a Winter Olympics or it's Dongbei Olympics,
Yeah. Dongbei is like a region in China, Cap.
Right.
Like the northern region. It literally everyone's from that one region. So is it like Is it China or is it just Dongbei competing in these?
Yeah.
Olympics?
Did you ever go skiing in China, Turner? Didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Like
I've been skiing. What's that? I forget the name of the mountain, but it's near the North Korea border. Oh, Chongbaishan. Yeah, just told me. Chongbaishan. Yeah, we went there. It was fun. We had a good time. The equipment was all like brand new. Everything they had was brand new. The chairlifts were all brand new, and there was barely anyone there. So it was a good time. But it was like
would have done the cool jump. They might have asked you to join the Olympic team or something.
Would have been great. It was like skiing in Pennsylvania, Cap, to bring it all back home. It was hills.
That's what when I'm looking at I don't mean to disrespect, but I'm looking at the skiing coverage because that's what I do watch. And I'm watching that. And I'm like, those mountains. I'm like, I never thought. Like I'm like in Pennsylvania where I'm from. Like we could host the Olympics of this.
Yeah, the Pennsylvania Olympics.
Yeah, Blue Mountain next Olympic Games.
Be great. So your club, Tony, your comedy club's going well. I guess
it's okay.
And you get to perform there whenever you want.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
What's the name of it? Is it still called the humor section?
Yes, it's called 幽默小区 in Chinese.
Awesome. And how do people find it? I mean, I guess our people won't be. It's going to be a long time till tourism will come back.
One day, people are listening to this episode down the road.
One day, yeah. This episode lives forever. So how do people find it online? How do they find you?
It's very difficult. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Tony Chou Comedy, Tony Chou. But, because of the VPN thing, I have a lot of trouble getting on it. Also on the Chinese social media called Weibo.
Yep.
Tony Chou.
Shout out.
Chou Comedy. Yes.
Tony Chou Comedy. Year of the Tiger. This is our first. We've done this show for years, and this is our first China episode. And we're honored to have you as the first guest, Tony. And we did it.
Thank you.
During Chinese New Year, Year of the Tiger. Yeah. It's going to be a big one. Everybody, thank you, Tony, so much for doing it. Kaplan,
Tony the Tiger.
What should we do?
We should, I guess, what do we do now? We get lost.
Get lost.